other than New England with this latest situation?
No, some other owner would hire him.
Yeah?
They would call him up. Yeah, there ain't a whole bunch of integrity in being an NFL owner. This is about integrity in your word. Like, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I've had plenty of business deals. I said I was going to do something and didn't do anything. Yeah, absolutely. His career's not ruined. Let's not get carried away. Like, if somebody wants a coach, I guarantee you next year, if they were looking to go, they're going to be calling New England. They're going to forget about all this stuff. Because, I mean, we've seen coaches do other things that were worse than this, and they still were candidates. But I am with Tony Dungy. And the reason why is because I've been with Tony Dungy. I know his career. I know how Tony Dungy got passed over. Dennis Green gave him an opportunity to be a great defensive coordinator, and how he felt responsible. I know the type of man Tony Dungy is, and yes, his word is his word. But, and I was kind of shockingly found this out in talking to you this morning. Like, man, people aren't trying to help other people. Like, when you have a subordinate, like the typical subordinate is not going to get any help from someone above them. I didn't know that until Nick and I started talking, because my nature has been to help people. And I also believe when you're really, really talented and you're in an elite class, being a coach or an athlete, like, you don't have to worry about it. You keep doing your job, you keep improving, no one's going to ever take your job. You can't ever be replaced. If you provide a skill that someone can't do, what are you ever worried about? I was always just worried about getting better. I was never worried about anyone taking my spot, even though that is a reality for every job that you have.
But you also have an intense level of concern about the people with whom you work and the people that matter to them. And what is most indefensible to me of what Josh McDaniels did is the lack of courage to own the decision fully and call the people affected. He called some of the coaches that had agreed to come with him, but not all of the coaches. That, again, according to Diana Rossini of ESPN, and then it was clarified later of he called the coaches that were in the building, but not the ones that weren't in the building yet. If you're going to make a decision that you decide is best for you and your family, but has a deleterious effect on plenty of other families, you gotta own that. Like, I have good reason to believe that not that long after Chris Carter and I agreed to work together, and Chris took on an enormous responsibility in this show, knew what the wake-up calls would be, knew what the workload would be. Chris had a probably equally lucrative opportunity with a lot less responsibility, maybe in the moment a slightly higher profile, and there was no question.
Right.
Chris knew what it would have meant to me and my career and my family. Chris knew the commitment he had made to Eric Shanks and the people who trusted him. And even if it would have been, man, it's a lot less work days, a lot easier lifestyle, money's about the same. Like, and so that is just a question of who you are. Like, who are you as a person, and are you going to keep your word to people, or is, to quote, to kind of misappropriate a quote from Chris Rock, his word is as good as his options. Like that, you know, my word's as good as long as what I'm agreeing to I think is the best thing. But as soon as it becomes not the best thing, then it's different. Like, so does it affect his ability to get hired by other teams? Certainly some of them. Maybe not all of them. Maybe there's some other owners like, man, I'd have done the same thing. Like, whatever. But I think there are a lot of teams that are like, I didn't trust this guy beforehand. Now I definitely don't trust this guy.
If you were in that camp, it does not help his resume. But people see what they want to see. Everyone has they have an alternate reality that, you know, forget reality. So they create one. So people would not want to criticize Josh for making this decision. Well, what about all the lives that he affected in a negative way? Forget about he's got a job. Forget about that. But all the other people that were dependent on him, because he had to recruit them. He had to tell them things for them to go home and tell their significant other and to tell their children. So for me, the word part about it, when he gave them his word, that was as good as signing the contract. Now, the NFL needs to do something that when you have these assistant coaches and they're waiting, do they win or do they lose, and you can't ink them to a deal, you're sitting there holding, if they decide to leave you, you don't have anything. I think that that's something that the NFL should look at, because it does not make them look good when the Colts stop their their search for a coach. And then now they have to restart that whole process. They're at a huge disadvantage approaching the combine in 2 weeks. They're and approaching free agency. They're at a huge disadvantage.
I agree fully with what Tony Dungy said. I personally think it's indefensible. All you have at this point is your word at the last couple of days after the Super Bowl. But there's something also to be said, the fact that the Patriots knew that he was being sought after for other head coaching jobs. There were a number of opportunities where they could have convinced him to say. So either they didn't do it, or they didn't believe that he was really going to go, or they lost the Super Bowl and thought, oh, wow, we can't lose both coordinators. Like, do you think this would have happened had they won the Super Bowl?
Oh, I don't know if Belichick at the last moment was like, man, I can't lose both my coordinators. Let's do everything we can to bring Josh back into the fold. I don't know. I don't know why it happened in the timeline it did, and there's no precedent for it. There's no precedent for someone having a Belichick. You're like, oh, Belichick did it to the Jets. Belichick went from head coach to head coach to go from coordinator to head coach,
and then he was also general manager. He was getting everything when he went to New England.
Right. So maybe even a full step up, but it certainly wasn't a step down. And so, but the other thing that I do want to mention about these coaches, because I don't think the fans totally recognize it, that yes, the head coach of an NFL team is a wildly lucrative profession. But these couple of coaches, Matt Eberfluss, Mike Fair, who left their jobs to go to Indy, where they are locked in, but the new head coach might have no relationship with them, might be very short. Those guys make regular person, upper middle class to lower upper class money. It's not like, oh, okay, no matter where I go, I'm going to send my kid to the best private school ever. We can pick up and move. I don't need to worry about selling my house. The same things that you are concerned about when you have to leave a job, they are concerned about. Like, Josh McDaniels is going to be fine no matter what. But some of these other guys, like, it's a real tough life situation they're in. And that's what I think Tony Dungy, is a good man, was concerned about.
All right, coming up.